Minion in! It was pointed out to me that I have no PvP content for Bless Unleashed. There were a few requests, and I hate to ignore those. And while PvP is not something I usually enjoy, it is a part of the game, and it deserves some attention. My experience with PvP so far has been friendly duels with members of my guild, and being PK'd at field bosses. So last night, I queued up for Red Basin for the first time. If you're new to Bless Unleashed or PvP, I'm about to tell you how it works. You may have noticed that there are two factions listed in the reputation portion of the menu that have little representation in the open world. These are the Sen and the Vos Elan. The Sen are a group of Ibn whose aim it is to harness and control prana for the production of superior goods to be used in defense of the Federation. Where the Vos Elan are elves dedicated to purging prana from the world because they deem it too dangerous to be controlled by anyone. Personally, I'm with the Ibn. Of all the races, they are the smartest and have been thriving against all odds, whereas elves are super old. Like, really old. Suck it, elves. Ibn for life. When you queue up for a battlefield, you choose which of these factions you want to represent. Participation will increase your standing with that faction. Now, I have some thoughts on PvP in Bless Unleashed, and I'll do a separate video on that later. You can subscribe to my channel to be notified when that happens. For now, I'm just going to lay down some basics to get you started. The Red Basin battlefield is two teams of 15 players each fighting to claim and then defend multiple bases in the area. Holding a base will earn your team points over time, so in addition to racking up a kill count, you're going to want to own as many of these as possible for as long as possible. If you're new to PvP and your level is around the low 30s with a gear score to match, I suggest this activity because you're less likely to cause a power imbalance that will cause your team to lose. It's great for getting the hang of things without too much responsibility resting on your shoulders. Sure, everyone has to pull their weight, but there are 15 of you, so if you can't pull quite as hard as the more experienced players with higher gear scores, it's not as big a deal. I do have one complaint about battlefields. I'm partially green and red colorblind. As colorblindness goes, that one's very common, and I was having real trouble seeing which points were occupied by which group. I ended up having to just ride to each one to make sure. Accessibility is easy to implement and becoming a standard procedure in game development. Fingers crossed that Bless Unleashed hops on that bandwagon. The Warlords arena is more of a quick shot battlefield. It's a no-fuss deathmatch between two teams of 3 players. If you're not able to pull your weight here, believe me, people will notice. The upside is that the groups are much smaller, which makes the queue times much shorter. The two teams fight to the death for 3 rounds. Whoever wins the most rounds wins. It's not 2 out of 3 though, oddly enough. If you lose the first 2 rounds, the 3rd round happens anyway, even though you can't win anymore. Note though that Warlords Arena doesn't get you faction reputation. You don't choose a side, you're just randomly assigned to either Team Blue or Red. Do enough PvP and you can spend the points you earn in Sparios, where an army of reputation vendors await to provide you with everything from gear to mounts. PvP gear rewards are all B gear, and since you can't join PvP until you're at least level 28, kinda useless, as by then you already have a full set of B gear. But the other stuff is pretty neat. Those are the basics. Now go be freaking heroes. Minion out.